Mind Reset. How to reset your mind so you can eliminate self-limiting beliefs and have greater clarity and focus in your professional and personal life. Written and published by MSC Boost. We all have goals and aims, and we all have an idea of what we would like our lives to be like. Despite this, though, many of us fail to reach those goals or to actualize our dreams. Why is this? Or to put it another way, what is it that's holding you back? There's a good chance that you already know what the answer is likely to be. It's you. All of us have at some point been responsible for getting in our own way at one point or another, either because of limiting beliefs or because of poor habits and lack of discipline. How many times have you decided that you want to make a change in your life by getting into shape, or starting a new business, or starting a new job, only to then make zero progress in those areas? What possible reason could you have for this? Often it comes down to a lack of faith in yourself. It comes down to limiting beliefs about who you are, what you're worth, even how you're meant to behave. Limiting beliefs are incredibly destructive, largely because we often don't realize they're affecting us. They sit quietly in our unconscious brains and gradually prevent us from fulfilling our full potential. And more than that, they make us unhappy. They give us a sense of pessimism, which can color everything we do in unflattering tones. These beliefs act as your reference point. They inform every decision and opinion you make. They form your internal operating system. In other words, every feeling, thought, and experience that you have will effectively flow out of these beliefs. If you don't replace them with positive ones, then you won't be able to get the most out of life or enjoy it, even if you do. The good news, though, is that the brain is plastic. It is always changing, and even our very thoughts are capable of changing the structure of our DNA. This incredible fact means that it's entirely possible to transform the way you think, to reset that operating system, as it were, and to thereby live a happier and more fulfilled life. Chapter 1. What are limiting beliefs? I'm going to start out by providing a few examples of limiting beliefs. This can be a somewhat abstract concept to grasp, but when you see them laid out before you, it becomes much easier to understand. Let's say that you have a business idea. You're going to provide coaching for small businesses and help them get up and started. You'll charge a relatively low flat fee, but then the company will pay you a slightly larger fee a year later, as long as their earnings have passed a certain threshold. Nice idea. Your model involves selling direct to the customer, and the way you plan to do this is by looking for them on Instagram. You will find people who post about a business plan. Then you'll private message them and simply start chatting. If you spot an opportunity to sell, you'll pounce. That's the soft sell approach, and it means you can build a relationship and demonstrate your value before you charge. Here's the problem, though. You're too scared to contact anyone. Every day you put off messaging your clients out of the blue, and you can't quite put your finger on why. Let's try another situation. Let's say you're in a job or a relationship that makes you unhappy. It really doesn't matter which, but you know it won't provide you fulfillment. But you stay there anyway. Why? Because you feel it's the best you're going to get. You think that if you terminate the relationship, you'll end up loveless. Likewise, you'll find yourself on the street if you quit your current job. A lack of esteem means that you don't think you can get better. You effectively think you aren't worth more than that. And this then leads you to make some terrible mistakes. Some people will even stay in abusive relationships because they don't feel that they will find anything better. Some even feel that they deserve the abuse they receive. Did you know that when Stephen King first wrote Carrie, he threw it in the trash? It was his wife who retrieved it for him and told him he was being crazy. Turns out that we often can't recognize our own good work, or we're too scared to believe in it. Now compare this to someone like J.K. Rowling, who persistently kept sending out her manuscript for Harry Potter despite it being rejected over and over. Imagine if Rowling had King's lack of self-belief. The sad truth of it is that for some people, Limiting beliefs are so powerful that they won't even go and speak to their own friends. They believe that they'll stutter, or that their friends don't want them there. They think they have nothing to contribute to the conversation. Not all limiting beliefs can seem like negative things on the face of it. For example, how about your sense of self? We all have a sense of who we are, but most of us don't think of this as a limiting belief. Of course, who you think you are is not always limiting, but it can be. The perfect example of this is what happens when you get stuck in type thinking. This is when you think that you are a certain type of person, or that you have a certain set of traits, and then you let that dictate who you are going forward. For example, you might have a reputation for being the class clown. As a result, you always cause a ruckus in the office and draw attention to yourself. Eventually, this starts to hurt your career, but you feel as though you can't change that about yourself as it's something you're known for and an integral part of your personality. Likewise, you might not want to stop smoking because you have always smoked. You might not want to improve your diet because you love being known as the guy who eats everything. You might not approach clients because you think of yourself as shy. As you can see then, limiting beliefs really can be extremely problematic and hurt every aspect of your life, and we've still only touched on a few. For this reason, it's time to start doing something about them. Chapter 2. How to make your own luck by changing your thoughts. What many people don't realize is that they can actually become luckier by changing their beliefs about themselves and what will happen in their lives. This sounds absurd, but it makes a lot of sense once you understand the logic behind it all. People tend to think that luck is something that is out of their control. After all, that's pretty much the definition of luck. Luck is good things happening to you often that you did not directly cause. Luck is winning the lottery. Luck is finding a tenner on the floor, and luck is being in the right place at the right time, and meeting the person who becomes the love of your life offers you that amazing job. But while luck might seem out of our hands, we all know some people who just seem to have all the luck. These are the people who have all the good things happen to them and almost seem to have a charmed life. And for one person to be that consistently lucky, it seems a little statistically improbable. So what's really going on here? It all begins with changing your self-perception and your attitude. And you've already taken the first step by signing up. You may have heard of the law of attraction. This is the idea that what you put out into the world ultimately dictates what you get back. That as you act, so you will become. Again, this might sound like nonsense, but stop and think about how this might work. Acting like someone who is very successful might mean dressing smarter, acting more assertive and confident, taking on more responsibility, and even walking taller. If you genuinely believe you are successful or destined for success, then you will exude this certainty in everything you do. As a result, you will give off a number of signs that tell people you are successful and confident. They will see you strutting in your smart suit, and they will think there's a successful and capable person. And you know what? They will be more likely to offer you more work, to give you promotions, and to generally help you to succeed as a result. You've heard the expression dress for the job you want. Well, actually, you shouldn't just be dressing like a pro. You should be taking on that whole personality in every way that you can, so that you give off that aura of success, confidence, and smarts. The law of attraction also works in other ways too. Did you know that people who have nicer things often get better Christmas presents? That's because people know that their gifts need to be special to stand out and to deserve a place in their home. You should give people with less the better presents because they would appreciate them more. But that's not how life works. Nice things attract more nice things. This is the law of attraction. The bottom line here is that if you don't believe you are capable of greatness, then you likely won't act as though you are. And if you don't act as though you are, you won't be. Hang your head feeling shy and vulnerable, and that is how people will perceive you and therefore treat you. Be scared of everything, and you won't take chances that could end up improving your life for the better. But be bold, proud, and powerful, and you can achieve amazing things and transform the way others see you. You can fake it until you make it. But better is to read the subsequent chapters and see how to actually change your very beliefs from the inside out. To give yourself a total mind reset. Chapter 3. What would make your life better? Now you know that your beliefs shape your future. The next step is to decide what you need to change. To do that, you need to ask yourself what would make your life better. In a perfect world, you'd replace all negative beliefs and reset yourself to be happier and more content. In reality, this is work that takes time, so it makes sense to focus on areas that need the most improvement. What's your priority? A better job? A better relationship? More confidence? Here's how to choose. All of us want to live a happy and fulfilled life, and as such we are generally willing to work toward the future we want, and to put in the time and effort necessary to go after the things we want. And the good news, even if you don't quite achieve your goals anytime soon, the simple fact that you have goals and are working toward them will normally be enough to give your life focus, and so help you to feel happy and fulfilled. The problem then arises, though, when you realize that you aren't quite sure what it is that you actually want from life. How can you work towards something if you don't know what it is that you need? And how can you be happy if you don't know what it is that you bring you happiness? This is the plight that many of us face, and that leaves us drifting directionless and without fulfillment. But the good news is that there are many techniques and strategies to help you to overcome these problems and to get more from life. Here we will look at what some of those are. One way to identify what you need and what makes you happy is to start by identifying what doesn't make you happy, and most of us have a laundry list of things that are right now playing on our minds. So if you can identify these things that you want to change, suddenly you can see what kind of lifestyle it is that would make you somewhat happier. How can you work toward getting rid of these issues? While it might sound quite morbid, writing your own eulogy can actually be a very uplifting and enlightening process. Here, what you are writing down is what you would ideally like people to say about you after you died. By writing down the eulogy you would like to hear, you can this way identify the things that are important to you and the sort of person you want to be. Then, you will be able to live your life in such a way that you are able to live that legacy. If you want to be remembered as a family man, then make sure you spend more time with your family. If you want to be remembered as an innovator, then start thinking about how you can improve the field you work in or bring something new to the table. Another thing you can do is to look at your role models and to think about what it is that you respect about them. Here are people who you clearly think of as having made it, and who you obviously think are successful. So by mimicking them, you can feel that way about yourself in theory. One thing to do here is to look at the similarities between your different role models. What traits do they have in common? Because chances are that these are traits you will really respect. The 5-fold why is a self-development technique that challenges yourself to ask yourself a question, and then follow it up with 5 whys. This allows you to get to the core of your answer and to learn about yourself in the process. So what do you want to do? Become a fireman. Why do you want that? To feel like you're helping others. And why do you want that? To get a sense of gratitude. Suddenly you have shed light on your motivations, and you are more able to go after the things you want. Another thing to do is to look into your past. So far, of all the things you've achieved, and of all the experiences you've had, which mean the most to you? By looking at what brought you fulfillment in the past, you can learn about what might bring you fulfillment in the future. Once you've gone through these exercises and seen the things you want for yourself, the next question is, why aren't you there yet? As we've seen already, the answer is almost definitely down to your own beliefs about yourself and about the world. So now you know what you want to accomplish. You can hone in on the beliefs you need to change. Chapter 4. Letting go. Learning to let go is a very difficult skill to develop, but it's also one of the most valuable and important if you really want to reset your mind and attack life with a new positivity and determination. The unfortunate truth is that many of us are defined by our past experiences, and we allow them to color and guide our future behaviors and judgments. If you have had a traumatic experience in your past, then this can stay with you and cause you to feel as though you might have further bad luck in future. We often don't give ourselves fully to relationships because of bad relationships we've had in the past. And likewise, old experiences with parents and school friends can shape the way we see ourselves. If you are to move on with a positive mindset, you need to clear the emotional baggage first. This is something we will all have to go through at one time or another. While you shouldn't bury or ignore painful emotions, it is important to embrace them and then move on so that you can get on with your life. Wallowing in despair and feeling upset is not a constructive response to any situation, and ultimately it will of course result in your failing to build new attachments and to move on with your life. Here we will look at some ways you can move on and overcome emotions that potentially might be crippling you and preventing you from getting on with your life. Letting go of people and relationships is very different from letting go of projects and ideas. If you have lost a thing, lost a lot of money, or lost your work on a new novel, for instance, then there is no real emotional aspect to deal with in the same way as there is for a relationship, and it's not going to help you at all to spend time wallowing in your upset. As such, then, the best solution is to simply move on and focus instead on restarting from scratch. And the best way to do that, that's to simply pick up the pieces and get on with a plan to rebuild. The sooner you rebuild, the less you've lost. Whatever it is that you have lost, it's important to deal with those emotions and to get closure. This is why a funeral and a wake are so important following the death of a loved one, as they allow us to say goodbye and close that chapter in our lives. You can have a send-off for anything though, whether it's someone you loved or your business. You can even have a celebration to mark the end to an influential time in your life, or even to the old you. This can actually be a very good way to get rid of the type thinking that we already discussed. The expression, "It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all," might not seem comforting to those who have done the former, but it is actually very true. Whether or not the person, relationship, or possession is gone, you will have learned and grown from the experience. When you realize that they have left a lasting impression on you and changed who you are, then you realize that a part of them is indeed living on. Sometimes part of the difficulty with letting go of a loved one or a relationship is that you still have unresolved issues that you haven't had a chance to overcome, and sometimes things go unsaid until it's too late. To help you to move on, then it's often useful to get these issues off of your chest by talking to a chair that you imagine they are sitting on. Another very useful one is to write a letter to them that you then destroy afterwards. CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, which basically consists of identifying the negative thoughts you have and then replacing them with more positive ones. Come up with some helpful positive affirmations, such as, "They're at peace now," or "They're a part of who I am still." And next time you find yourself ruminating in emotionally damaging ways, instead try repeating these phrases. While they may be of little comfort at first, over time you can find that they become habitual and replace your negative thoughts permanently. We'll be looking at CBT more in Chapter 6. These techniques will help you to let go of feelings, memories, and experiences that are currently shaping your beliefs in a negative way. The key is to do this in a healthy way, though, not to simply shut out any negative memories. Chapter 5. Implicit memory. You've removed many of the negative lingering emotions and beliefs that come from your old experiences. But what about those that are still there, floating just under the surface? Many of us fall into old patterns and habits based on old experiences, but are not aware of them at the time. This is implicit memory. Essentially, implicit memory is what happens when you don't remember that you remember something. That sounds pretty confusing, so let's elaborate on that a little bit. Usually when we think of memory, we are describing what's known as explicit memory. These are the things we can actively recall happening, the things we can relive, and the knowledge we know we have. This is memory that we access consciously. In the case of implicit memory, though, We are remembering things, but are unable to identify what those up or to summon them at will. Studies have shown that even when we can't remember something that happened consciously, it can still end up affecting our behavior, which seems to demonstrate that we do still remember it in some sense of the word. Even if we don't remember it consciously, there is some kind of record of it which can end up impact us in a number of ways. An example of implicit memory then might be a repressed memory as described by Freud. Here the theory is that highly traumatic memories can be repressed to keep them hidden from us consciously because they are too potentially damaging. Generally, though, this is not the type of implicit memory that's discussed. Rather, implicit memory is normally evidenced by the existence of priming, where the participant has no knowledge of such priming. Priming occurs when we subject to certain experiences and scenarios that might alter our perception or our behavior. For instance, you can prime yourself to be more aggressive by spending time watching lots of aggressive films in a hot room with red walls. Similarly, you could prime yourself to respond to questions in a certain way to make yourself more likely to answer subsequent questions using the same paradigm frame of reference. Implicit memory could also be used to describe other types of memory, such as muscle memory, that don't have a semantic element to them for us to remember consciously. A knee-jerk reaction, for instance, could be the result of an experience, even though we might not remember that event or link the two. Procedural memories allow us to do such things as writing or riding a bike or reading, though again they don't tend to require conscious remembering. The reason this is relevant and interesting to us is because it shows us once again just how our actions are shaped by forces we aren't even aware of. And this becomes particularly problematic when you find yourself constantly thinking things like, "I'm going to fail." While you might not realize it, those implicit memories are actually influencing your subsequent decisions and your beliefs generally. The concept of implicit memory is relatively new and thus has not been subject to that much research as yet. Nevertheless, there is some early evidence to suggest that such a phenomenon might be real. Further evidence appears to show that all memory is implicit in infants as they are unable to consciously retrieve certain memories. Another example is seen in amnesiacs who can no longer create new memories, but are still susceptible to priming and can still be affected by implicit memories generally. According to one research, Daniel L. Schachter, the remaining question is whether implicit and explicit memory are governed by a single underlying system or multiple systems. The illusion of truth is an example of a cognitive bias that may be related to the concept of implicit memory. Essentially, the illusion of truth effect says that we are more likely to believe a statement to be true if we've heard it before, and even if we don't remember having heard it. The reason is that we think that sounds familiar, or it registers on some unconscious level, and thus we conclude that there must be truth to it. This effect occurs without the need for conscious acknowledgement of the memory, which demonstrates the role of implicit memory. While the subject of implicit memory is a relatively new one, there is enough evidence for implicit memory affecting decision making through priming and other mechanisms to warrant consideration. This is a topic that self-help books have been quick to jump on without always fully understanding the concept. Nevertheless, it is possible that some of your behaviors and feelings may be being affected by memories that you aren't aware of. It's been suggested by some that this could explain why we sometimes find ourselves in bad moods or feeling anxious without knowing why. It could be that something we've encountered has triggered an association and an emotional response, even though we maybe don't remember that association forming in the first place. It's also worth bearing in mind that this can cause us to make unwise decisions or to believe things that aren't necessarily true. If you feel like something must be true because it sounds familiar, or you feel drawn to a particular course of action without knowing why, then try taking a moment to really assess your emotions and where they're coming from before you let them completely dictate your actions. So what are we going to take away from this? One powerful tip is to think about all those things that are shaping your emotions and thoughts without you even being aware of them. Think about your environment and the thoughts and beliefs you tell yourself regularly. You can influence these things positively, on the other hand, by using positive affirmations. Try placing cards around your home that tell you positive things or remind you of positive times. And when you find yourself in a bad mood or about to make a pessimistic determination, ask yourself where this might be coming from. Could it be something that has been affecting you unconsciously? Just knowing that our feelings and thoughts can come from outside will often do a lot to help us get them back under control. Chapter 6: Mindfulness and Cognitive Restructuring. Many of the techniques we have looked at so far in this book have a lot in common with cognitive behavioral therapy. As we explained briefly in an earlier chapter, CBT is the psychotherapeutic approach that involves changing the way you think through a two-part process: assessing current thoughts, then replacing them with newer, more positive ones. The most potent part of this mix is something called cognitive restructuring. In this chapter, we're going to examine how this tool can be used to destroy damaging beliefs that might be leading to self-destructive behavior. In particular, we'll see how it can be used to combat addiction. Addiction is a highly destructive phenomenon that can have wide-ranging implications for our lifestyle and health. While the specific damage that an addiction causes will vary depending on the nature of that addiction, in any case, it means losing the ability to choose, and this is likely to be upsetting and to negatively impact on your other activities. Where the individual isn't in any immediate danger from their addiction, cognitive restructuring is one method that can be very effective while remaining safe and non-invasive. The general idea behind CBT as a whole is to look at the thought processes that lead to certain behaviors and to then try to alter these. Of course, there is a chemical and biological element in many addictions, and in all addictions arguably, if you count the brain's own production of dopamines. But at the same time, there is also a psychological aspect too, which comes from the ruminations a person might have. For instance, then someone with an addiction might find themselves often thinking things like, "I'm stressed, a cigarette will make me feel better," or "just one piece of chocolate won't hurt me," or "I can't stop using drugs." And none of these thought processes will be helpful. Perhaps you think the opposite. "I could stop easily if I chose." Cognitive restructuring, then, is one method that is used in CBT in order to combat these ruminations. You may even find there are deeper negative thoughts at play. "I don't care if it kills me," or "no one cares about me." Perhaps you believe the cigarette or unhealthy behavior is your only source of fulfillment. The way it works is relatively simple, which is part of the appeal of CBT in the first place. One aspect of cognitive restructuring is mindfulness, which simply means paying more attention to the contents of your own thoughts. The idea is to listen to the thoughts you're having without influencing them, watching them go by like clouds, so that you can then identify the negative ones you're having. Next, you need to learn to spot these negative thoughts when they crop up, and then to use positive affirmations in order to replace them. When you catch yourself thinking, "just one won't hurt," instead replace this with the phrase, "the first time I slip is the beginning of a slippery slope." Meanwhile, rather than thinking of how relaxed you'll probably feel after a cigarette, instead focus on the negative feelings, such as the ashtray taste in your mouth and the feeling of guilt. It's all about focus, expectation, and memory. By using these more useful affirmations repeatedly, you can eventually get to the point where it becomes habitual to think those things instead of the damaging thoughts, and your behavior should follow appropriately. CBT doesn't take very long, involve the use of drugs, or require you to talk about painful memories. If this method appeals to you, then look for a cognitive behavioral therapist in your area and work with them to take on your addiction. This is why the affirmations we've discussed earlier in this book are so powerful. But there are two more useful methods in cognitive restructuring too. One is thought challenging, and the other is hypothesis testing. In thought challenging, you look at the content of the negative ruminations and then really ask yourself whether they are accurate. Your job here is to truthfully deconstruct your negative beliefs and to prove yourself wrong about them in a way that is impossible to argue. So if you think that nobody cares what happens to me, and that is a reason for destructive behavior, you would assess if this is really true. Ask yourself, if something happened to you, is it really true that nobody would care? Is there not one person who would be horrified to lose you? And do you not owe it to them to look after yourself? As you can see, thought challenging will reveal many of the thoughts you tell yourself to in fact be thinly veiled deceptions. Hypothesis testing takes this to the next level by getting you to actually test the theory to see if your assertion is true. This is only appropriate in certain circumstances, of course. But if you find that you believe that you could stop easily any time, how about testing that theory? How about trying to stop for a week? And if you can't, maybe you really do need help. We used the example of addiction in this chapter, but cognitive restructuring and mindfulness are incredibly powerful tools that can be used in a vast variety of different situations in your life to change the way you think, and therefore to change the way that you behave and what you get out of life. In the next chapter, we'll see one example of using hypothesis testing to improve your confidence. But you can likewise use thought challenging to crush fears about starting a new business, or about spending time with friends. Hypothesis testing is also great for this one. And you can use mindfulness in every aspect of your life to better understand your own beliefs and motivations. Chapter 7. Confidence and Self-Worth. Low self-esteem is a problem that can end up affecting countless other areas of your life. It is one of the biggest limiting beliefs of them all. In itself, low self-esteem can be highly detrimental to your mood on a daily basis and to your enjoyment of any activities you participate in. On top of that, though, low self-esteem also means you make less of an impression on the people you meet. You're less likely to take chances the good kind, and you're more likely to experience mental health problems like depression. In short, then, if this is something you struggle with, it's crucial to start working to improve your sense of self-worth so that you can get more out of life and prevent a potential downward spiral. But how do you do that? There are countless articles and pieces of advice out there, but many of them fail to really address the issues leading to low self-esteem or the severity of the problem. A lot of articles, for instance, will tell you to take care of your personal hygiene, as though cleaning your teeth a minute longer is going to magically fix your lack of self-worth. As much as it might be nice to simply will yourself into having more esteem or to make lists of things you love about yourself, that's not going to cure a deeply ingrained crisis in confidence. Read on, and we'll look at the problem from a more scientific standpoint, what the actual psychological treatments for this problem might be, and at what the underlying neuroscience may be. Something we may think of as being responsible for low self-esteem is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which serves as, among other things, our inner critic. When this goes into overdrive, we question everything. And it's this questioning and doubting that can lead to low confidence and low self-esteem. In fact, confidence can pretty much be defined as not questioning your decisions or statements. Being able to turn off the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex when in social settings can immediately mitigate the effects of low self-esteem, then by allowing you to be more in the moment. In turn, this will make you more fluent and more charming, and you'll come away having had positive social experiences that can help with combating anxiety. How do you shut down your inner critic? One method is meditation, which can teach you the mental discipline to stay in the here and now. Otherwise, just try to focus on whatever you're doing and to react in the moment. Stop thinking about what you're going to say and listen. The more you focus and engage with what you're doing, the more the DLPC switches off. This is one of the reasons that meditation is such a powerful tool for helping to combat negative feelings and beliefs, and getting you to feel more positive and optimistic. Another tip: do things you are truly passionate about in order to smash apart those negative beliefs and feelings. Working out is one of the most effective ways to boost your confidence. Of course, being in great shape makes you look and feel good, which is immediately positive for your sense of self-worth. More to the point, though, it also triggers the release of many more hormones and neurotransmitters that can affect the brain. In the short term, exercising boosts the release of endorphins, which in turn act as natural antidepressants and can drastically improve your mood. Likewise, simply having more muscle will increase your production of testosterone, which in turn makes you more focused, more aggressive, and more confident. If you're the shrinking wallflower type, then adding some muscle can change that regardless of gender. The other reason this can transform the way you view yourself is because it helps with the law of attraction, which we touched on earlier, but we'll explore in more depth in a moment. The way you use CBT in the context of self-esteem is to look at the content of the inner critic and to see what it is that you are telling yourself that's making you feel low. Your job is then to change this inner script, while at the same testing those theories and proving to yourself that they aren't true. Think you're too shy or uninteresting. Prove yourself wrong by putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Cognitive behavioral therapists will encourage you to do this, but you know one of the best ways to constantly be hypothesis testing, as discussed previously. Put yourself in a demanding job that's just outside your comfort zone, and that requires lots of interactions. As you find yourself rising to meet challenges, you'll give that inner critic less and less ammunition against you, and your confidence will rise rapidly. It's time to start combining some of these lessons into a more powerful program for transforming yourself. After all, it follows that your low self-esteem can be particularly affected by implicit memory. If you make a habit of experiencing more positive things on a regular basis, of having lots of small wins, and even thinking positive thoughts, then you'll find that you spend more of your time primed for positive experiences. Those affirmations then can prove extremely useful in this capacity. Chapter 8. Body Language and Dressing for the Life You Want. Understanding implicit memory has shown us how something that we aren't even consciously aware of can end up priming our mood and making us more positive or less so. One of the biggest ways you can do this: change the way you look, the way you stand, and even your expression. This affects the way we feel about ourselves on a very deep and impactful level. When you change what you wear, you instantly change the way you feel about yourself in that moment. This is what helps you to access all the right implicit memories. You'll be reminded of times you felt powerful, successful, and attractive. A sharp suit can immediately make you look better. By investing time and money into your appearance, you demonstrate to your others and yourself that you care about your appearance, and thereby that you value yourself. What's more is that you look more attractive by emphasizing your shape in a positive way, and by adorning yourself in high-quality materials. The result: people think you are successful and confident, which in turn means you instantly become more attractive both as a dating prospect and someone to hire and promote. This changes the way that other people react to you. They may be more likely to offer you job roles or to ask your opinion. From your perspective, both the positive experience of catching yourself in the mirror and the way others treat you will make you feel good. Even the feel of the higher quality material can have this effect. Another way to help others to think you're more confident is to change your body language subtly. Placing one arm on a door frame can help you to look as though you believe you own the space. Likewise, spreading out more in general suggests more dominance and confidence. Being still and calm also exudes confidence and makes you look like you are cool and in command. The aim is not to be aggressive, but by recognizing when you are doing the opposite, curling into a ball and generally shrinking, shaking and biting, and to cut out those behaviors. And next time you walk into a room, boost your chest up as you enter the door and beam. What's more, though, is that the right body language can even drive the production of feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters that actually make you more confident. Standing in a victory pose, arms in a V shape in the bathroom before an interview can elevate testosterone and help you to be more effective in that interview. We all think of smiling as a good thing and something we should do more, and we realize the benefits it can have on our popularity and on the moods of the people around us. However, what we maybe don't realize as much is what it can do for the other areas of our lives, how simply smiling can actually make everything a lot better and even advance our careers. Here I will go into that in a little more detail and look at just how impressive the power of a smile is without wanting to sound too cheesy. First of all, thanks to something called facial feedback, simply smiling can be one of the very best ways to improve your mood. Simply by smiling, it is possible to actually improve your mood, as it causes your body to release more positive hormones. In fact, any expression that you pull has been shown to have this facial feedback effect. Next time you are feeling lethargic and tired, then simply try smiling, and you'll find it improves your mood to no end. At the same time, because you are producing positive hormones and endorphins, rather than damaging ones like cortisones, this can then have a strengthening effect on your immune system and generally help you to become more resilient against illnesses and other problems. Of course, it can also help with motivation and psychological well-being no end. If you thought that facial feedback was an impressive effect, then you will likely be more impressed still with the mirror neurons in our brain, which fire when we see someone else pull an expression too. This then means that the expression you see someone else pull can also cause you to produce the respective hormones and to alter your mood. That then means that when you smile at someone, it automatically causes them to produce endorphins and to feel happier too. This then means that if you smile every time you see someone, they will then feel happier every time they see you too. This in turn then means that you can essentially create an association where they see you and then think of feeling happy and good about themselves. This association, of course, will then ensure that they are more likely to want to spend time with you, and that will boost your social life, aid your career, and help you to become more likely to succeed generally. At the same time, because you will look happier and more confident, this will also lead people to believe that you are both of those things. And when you seem more confident and happier, people tend to assume you're more successful, which would be the reason you are feeling confident, which in turn ensures that they think you are more likely to be highly capable. Again, this can help you in relationships, and certainly in your career, as you have an aura around you of someone who is successful and who you would want on your side. As you can see, changing the way you look and act can make you become the person you want. That is the opening and closing message of this book. Don't just dress for the job you want. Dress for the life you want. Chapter 9. Meditation. The final piece of the puzzle is meditation. Meditation is something that is often understood. Many people think it is somehow mystical or unscientific. In fact, meditation is simply a term describing a range of different practices, each with a single purpose and effect: to train and exercise focus. The meditation many people know of is transcendental meditation. Here, practitioners sit in the lotus position and simply focus on a single mantra, such as a hum or a word. The result? You completely clear your mind, and thus learn to rise above the many petty concerns that previously made you stressed and unhappy. Likewise, religious meditation means doing the same thing, focusing on a passage of religious text or a prayer. In Tai Chi moving meditation, the focus is on the body. However you do it, the main objective is to direct the mind and to avoid letting thoughts and feelings bog you down. Mindfulness can also be practiced as a form of meditation. Here, you don't try to empty your mind, but just focus on the contents of your thoughts, without letting them affect you. This is useful for CBT and cognitive restructuring as described in this book. But all types of meditation have one more powerful effect. They help you to decide what to focus on and how to feel. That means that the next time you find yourself feeling absolutely crushed by the weight of the world, you can simply decide to ignore the negative voice in your ear and to focus instead on the positive affirmations around your home and how great you look in that suit. All the other changes we've made in this book become far more powerful once you gain control of your focus and your thoughts. When we direct our attention, We tell our brains what is important and what is accurate. As a result, we are able to trigger physical alterations in our brains that can eliminate negative, limiting beliefs and help to make us into smarter, happier, and more confident versions of ourselves. We've learned a lot over the course of this book, and so all that's now left to do is to put it all together in order to reset your mind and start enjoying the fruits of that positive, confident mindset.